What's up, droners, and welcome to this edition of Droner News. And we have some new drones coming from DJI, as well as San Diego doing some really dope stuff with drone law and a lot of other stuff. So let's jump in. All right, so coming off the top, we're gonna go with the DJI drone. They are releasing a new Phantom 4. And if you're familiar with the Phantom 3 series, then you'll be familiar with this name. It is the Phantom 4 Advance. Obviously, there already has been a Phantom 4. There's already been a Phantom 4 Pro release, which is awesome. And now they're releasing the middle ground, which is the Phantom 4 Advance. Now you must ask yourself, what is the real difference here? And the simplest, quickest answer of this question will be, is the biggest difference between the two drones is the amount of sensors you get on it and the different frequency ranges that you're gonna be able to use from your remote controller to your drone, and $150. That's pretty much the biggest difference. They have identical cameras, they have identical bodies, identical flight times, like identical everything, except for you don't have the backward facing sensor. And like an infrared sensor or something like that. But you don't have that, and you don't have the two different frequencies to be able to operate your controller on. So if you were to ask me which one I would get out of the two, I'll tell you because I just bought it. I would get the Phantom 4 Pro. It's only $150 difference. The only real benefit, like I said, you get is that you save $150 and won't fly backwards in this stuff as often. I don't know exactly the reason for releasing this drone outside of maybe getting some more attention towards the Phantom 4. But I don't know. I don't really see the niche market of where this drone will go. But I didn't see the niche market of where the Phantom 3 Advance was either. So maybe they know something about their sales that obviously I don't. Either way, cool new drone. If you want to not have to pay the extra $150, you should look at it. Otherwise, I recommend the Phantom 4 Pro. Coming in next, we have drone sales numbers. Yeah, I kind of segued that from the Phantom 4 conversation, which works really well, is that there just came out a study from, who did this? Oh, okay, a study conducted by the NPD Group, is a market research company, found that drone sales went up 117% from 2015 to 2016. Huge numbers. And they also found that 85% of the revenue made from drones came from expensive drones of like $500 and up. But that only made up 40% of the sales. So most of the drone sales were actually, 60% of drone sales were actually drones that cost $500 or less. Meaning the smaller and cheaper drones are selling more. So it's kind of like quantity over quality, I guess, depending on if you look at revenue or quality or how much, whatever. Either way, it's not really a big surprise. We know that drone sales are gonna go up because more people are interested in drones and there's more drones available. They're awesome. And of course, we also know that DJI is king, making up a third of the total sales made in the $500 to $1,000 range, which is a lot. And second place kind of surprised me. I thought it would be unique, but it was actually 3D Robotics. And they turned around and said, guess what? We're not even selling drones anymore. We're doing drone software. Because they stopped making their solo drone not so long ago, and the price plummeted. You should check it out. They're super cheap now. But either way, Parrot and Unique tied for third place with 7% of the market share, and then a bunch of other drones. And then, this kind of makes you wonder, besides obviously having the best drones ever, what makes DJI have the best drones? I learned something from this article, is that DJI has spent all their money on their research and development team. They have 1,500 members to the research and development team, which makes them be able to make the super coolest drones ever. And as the market becomes more saturated, experts expect the growth to, slow year by year, but they think that it could be over 3.5 million hobby drones are sold in 2020. Right now it's like 2.15. So yeah, buy drone stock in drone companies you believe in. It'll probably help. So if you've ever watched any of our list videos, because they're awesome, from Droner, you will see that we actually did a video based upon drones being inspired by nature, and this would have easily fit into that. I don't know, I had never heard of it. There's a insect that is really famous called the whitefly. It's really small, it's like 0.03 inches long, but it's famous for its ability to lift off the ground and start flying without actually flapping its wings. And that can inspire drones, and that's what's going on. Dr. Gal Reback, he's leading a study that could be a really useful adaptation to drones, especially for micro drones, because these flies are so small yet they're so stable and they don't even have to flap their wings to take off. We can learn something from that. So what this doctor did is he actually shot these flies taking off in super slow motion, probably using a Phantom camera, and found out that they actually jump in the air and they bend the tips of their wings up, which allows them to have wind resistance and allow them to stay in the air as soon as they get up. And that might help drones. I don't know how that's gonna help drones. I guess it'll help fixed-wing drones. For some reason, I always think rotors when I'm thinking drones. But either way, fixed-wing drones might get some use out of this, especially when the really small ones that are gonna become useful for something. I don't know what yet, but obviously everything has a use. Either way, nature teaching drones, because drones are gonna be like nature and everything's gonna be awesome. Coming in number 4, we have drones versus lightning strikes. I know. This is something every drone person always thinks about. They stay up at night, like, man, I sure hope that my drone doesn't get struck by lightning. So what would happen if we actually did get struck by lightning? What would happen? Okay, obviously I've never thought this before, but this story came across my desk, so I'm just like, all right, well, I'm kind of curious now that you asked the question. So a YouTuber named Tom Scott brought his pair of Phantom 3 drones to University of Manchester's high voltage laboratory that can do like 2 million volts at once, even though they only shock these drones with 1 million volts. Either way, they shocked the drones and they found out that drones don't take electricity very well when they get hit by lightning, because you shouldn't be flying drones during thunderstorms anyway. That'd be the dumbest thing ever. Anyway, they pretty much like struck the first drone, and what it did is destroy the rotors or the motors of the drone. Of course it goes down. And they're like, well, wonder what would happen if we actually put like a lightning rod on the second drone and said, okay, like, we'll attract the lightning to this rod, and maybe it'll make it so the drones aren't so susceptible to lightning bolts. So they did it, and hilariously enough, it didn't hit the lightning rod, it just hit the engine and just destroyed the drone. But one cool thing that we found out from this experiment is that the drone batteries are insulated, and actually no damage happened to the drone batteries at all, being struck by 1 million volts of lightning or electricity. I don't know how that's gonna help anything with anybody, but useful facts for useful information. Ha! Last but not least, one thing that I like to talk about a lot is drone law and policy. Obviously, it's going to affect all of us. It does affect all of us, and it can be a real burden if we're not allowed to fly drones in certain areas. I know that Hermosa Beach in Southern California has very, very tough drone laws, and now I'm finding out that San Diego actually has really cool drone laws. What they pretty much did is they just passed a regulation that allows that. They pretty much adopted the Part 107 laws and said, hey, these laws are our laws as well. So you pretty much need to just follow whatever these 107 saw. But the big reason they did this is because they wanted to make it so that their local police officers can actually enforce Part 107. As it is now, only federal officials can enforce that, or FAA officials, kinda. And we'll talk about the kinda later. But even so, San Diego said, these are good laws, these are good regulations, they seem to be accepted by the drone community, we're gonna accept them into our community, and now have our community enforce these exact laws and make sure that everyone's doing things legally and safe. Now, some people are like, yo, good stuff. Like, a lot of the drone community is really excited about San Diego incorporating these really reasonable laws into their local ordinances. Other people, of course, are like, well, they probably should have more laws on top of that. Like, it shouldn't be able to fly over this or that or whatever. And people are always going to be saying that because everybody's scared of drones spying on them or whatever. But either way, it's an ongoing thing. San Diego left a big, huge gaping hole for changes in policy as 107 changed and as drone law changes everywhere else. But I applaud San Diego for actually paying attention to what's going on in the drone world and doing something that is reasonable, that encourages the economy to allow drones to happen. Bam. Droners, thank you for checking out this edition of Droner News, and if you want to check out another edition of Droner News, you can click here because we have a lot of editions of Droner News and they're always interesting. Or if you want to see the best welcome video that's ever happened, you can click here. As always, make sure you subscribe to allow us to do what we're doing and stay fly.
Airplane.
Airplane.